Hey everybody, I'm Mike Krupa, creator of the Remodel benefits process, and today I want to talk about that process, how you can use it, but I also want to talk about why I created this process. Because I saw a problem out there in the marketplace, and this was the solution. And the problem is employers have been told for years, especially in the fully insured market, that the only way to lower your costs is to cut your benefits in the process. And so every renewal conversation has been going the same right now. Okay, how much more do we have to pay, and what are we going to have to take away from our employees? So we're going to talk about a process to fix this and reverse it, but I think it's important to talk about how we got here first. And three major things I'm going to talk about today. First being the insurance carrier. So back in 2010, when Obamacare was passed, there was a provision within that bill called the medical loss ratio, capping carrier profit margin at 15%. Felt very well intended. But the carriers pretty quickly exploited that because they realized if they were making 15 cents on the dollar, only way they're making 30 cents now is if they raise the price of that procedure from $1 to $2. And we have seen massive skyrocket in prices in the 16 years since Obamacare was passed. Also, massive stock increases for the three biggest insurance carriers out there, two of which are significantly outpacing the S&P 500. But this is just a part of the story here, because 1 year ago, we had United Healthcare peak at $599, Elevance at $453, and Cigna at $340. My opinion, the market is starting to really understand the true value that these insurance carriers are providing, and they're realizing that the system is rewarding higher costs. This is how we got here. We have to figure out ways to put in place protocols that will lower costs. So that's something to consider here. Next is the PPO network, Preferred Provider Organization. And you know what I'll tell you is 90 to 99% of all providers are now within these PPO networks. And that means there's a lot of crappy providers in those networks, frankly, right? And what happens today is us, utilizers, right, members, we don't have good tools to determine the cost and the quality of a procedure before we get it. And now every single provider almost is in the network. So what happens? We get this huge price disparity. This is one of my clients that was considering remodeling a portion of their health insurance plan. What we did was we looked at 10 different members that all had the exact same procedure code of a colonoscopy. What we found was that prices ranged anywhere from $1,000 to $5,900 on the high end. And when we dug into that data, we found that these blue providers, those are your hospitals. Those are the ones that are doing everything. Broken bones, COVID patients, colonoscopies, knee replacements, you name it. And these green providers, these are your top quality providers. Lowest cost as well. Why? Because they specialize in this. They do it all day long, and because they do it all day long, they figured out a way to keep their overhead lower. Here's the problem. Like I said, members don't have good tools to determine the cost or quality of a procedure before they actually go get it, right? So trying to get your members to pick these providers is like throwing a dart at the dartboard and you're trying to hit the bullseye every time and you're blindfolded. It's a hope and pray strategy. When we're remodeling plans, we need to figure out ways to mechanize to get members to go here. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. Now next, let's talk about the ID card and what happens, right? An employee goes into the provider, they present this ID card, they go get care. In the background, there's been no conversation around price, no conversation around shopping. There is no reason for that member to really consider cost at this point because they know what their copay is going to be. So here's how it acts, right? That ID card, it's like an unlimited company credit card, right? You're picking up the tab at the end of the day. This card allows them to go to any provider, almost any provider that they want to see, regardless of what the cost or quality of that provider is, and you pick up the tab at the end of the day regardless of the outcome. The worst part, the bill shows up later. You find out how much you pay after the fact. And guess what? There's no monthly statement breaking down the detail for you to verify it. Nope, that goes only to the member. You as the employer, you don't get that kind of detail. And it only goes to the member if they ask for it too. So look, you got three things here that are kind of stacked against you. That is why I created the remodel benefits process. I have been watching way too long employers shopping their carriers and raising deductibles and increasing employee contributions all to just see the costs continue to go up and up and up. And Remodel Benefits creates a better way without cutting benefits. It is a framework to lower your healthcare costs and actually improve the benefits at the same time. Let me tell you how it works. The first step in the process is establishing some control within your health plan. This means three things. This means getting access to your data and understanding what cost drivers you have in your plan so you can use that data to make strategic decisions going forward. Next thing with control, you gotta have a long-term strategy. Start thinking in 3 years, not just the 90-day renewal cycle. My most successful clients at managing their spend have a 3-year strategy in place. And finally, it's evaluating that funding arrangement. And hopefully, if you're a good candidate, go and self-funded, because going self-funded is going to allow you to do the next 2 steps in the process, which is really going to make an impact on your costs overall. Align being the next step. Align your health plan with partners that have your best interests in mind. It starts with your broker, but it goes down to every other partner within your health insurance plan. This is the step where we find a lot of fraud, waste, and abuse by just asking some basic questions when we're evaluating a vendor partner. Like, does this solution reduce the total cost of care for the employee and for the member? Like, we want to make sure it does that, right? Next, how does that vendor get paid? When you understand how a vendor gets paid, you will understand what their incentive structure is. And then even further, do they back that up and put their money where their mouth is with an ROI guarantee? That's what I'm looking for when I'm finding solutions for employers. Is that vendor going to put their money where their mouth is? Because if they are, my bet is they're going to deliver on the results. And if they don't, my bet, maybe they'll deliver on the results. And then finally, third step in the process is reward. At some point, you may be asking members to make a change. It could just be moving a different insurance carrier. It could be, adding in a solution for lower cost MRIs. It doesn't matter what it is, you're going to have to figure out some ways to reward your members when they're making good healthcare decisions. So they continue to make good healthcare decisions that impact them, their families, and the health insurance plan at the end of the day. I think the best way to do that is offer free healthcare. If you go back to that example of the colonoscopy, let's just pretend like it costs $100 for that member to go in and get a colonoscopy. Would you waive that $100 if it meant they were going from here to here and quality was consistent? Every single employer would. And that's what I mean with rewards, is you need to figure out ways to reward members so you're not hoping and praying they're making the right decisions. You're putting in mechanisms that allow them to make those decisions. So look, I really hope that you can use this framework. It's been a framework that's worked very well for me and my clients. I hope that you found this helpful. Thanks for listening.